I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my sponsor, Rycore Countertops. They deal in custom countertops in quartz, corian, meganite, laminate, and butcher block. They also have custom kitchen cabinetry, closets, laundry rooms, and millwork. They're family owned and operated for 18 years, knowledgeable and highly experienced staff, and friendly customer service. Head on over to 1069 Clark Road. Check out their showroom today. Welcome to Studio 88. I'm here with my special guest, Elias, the main event, Theodorou. The Spartan, actually. My apologies.
AKA all of the above.
All of the above. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Great to be here, man.
Thank you for coming in. I'm just going to tilt that a little bit. Perfect.
Perfect.
Awesome.
We're ready to go.
Thank you for making time for me today, man. I appreciate it. I've been trying to track you down to get you in here, but your schedule is...
Third time's the charm.
Yeah,
Third time's the charm.
You were right. You were absolutely right about it. I've been trying to get you in. There's a lot of exciting news for you coming up. Your journey never stops. But let's rewind back in time. Where did it all start for Elias? Where did you grow up, bro?
I grew up in Mississauga.
Okay.
And my story and where it all started for me in martial arts, it definitely started as a fan first and foremost. I, through my formative years in high school, watched it and looked up to, whether it was Tito Ortiz or Chuck Liddell. Those are some of the baddest motherfuckers around, right? So it was just I beyond what I even expected in regards to I liked boxing. I watched a little bit. I watched some other sports, but I was enthralled with MMA just because of the complexity. I obviously, seeing that transition, whether you talk about it going mainstream or becoming a sport rather than the toughest guy in the cage at night, the preparation that goes into it, et cetera, and that evolution as well. But watching that transition, watching all of that, and then one day just kind of going to a gym and never leaving, and that kind of came in fruition. I got in a couple of high school fights. There was one specifically that kind of, again, actually was literally the first high school fight for the most part, and that was one that I was reluctant about to join. And then I tried to walk away. A friend grabbed me, punched me, threw me into the person that was trying to fight me. A light kind of just went off, and I hit him a bunch of times, et cetera. Threw down. Half the school was there. A couple people filmed it, and this was at the time when razors were just getting around. The Razor Motorola, right? Yeah. So the first real, transition into technology on our phone and being able to capture moments. So it kind of went viral in school. And I got a little bump in the little buzz from it the next day on Monday.
And you hadn't done any combat sports before that?
No. I loved skateboarding at the time. As you can tell with the long hair, in a past life I'd much rather jump down a set of stairs or grind a fun box.
See, I grew up in Scarborough, so I assumed that every Greek person that I knew was a Gino.
Yeah,
they never touched a skateboard, so it's fascinating.
That switch it up on that capacity,
yeah, for sure.
But so basically, after that first fight, I never started fights per se, but I definitely finished them, and I kind of had this high school and growing up and whatnot, and kind of finding oneself an inflated version of myself, perception of myself as I could kick some ass, and. Basically, after my first year of university, I picked a fight that I shouldn't have, and had a couple of drinks, and some guy that was trying to pick a fight with my friend. I basically opted to fight him. We get kicked out of the bar. I naturally, at this point, first thing I do off the gate was a flying Superman off of a curb. I slip, I fall. He kicks me in the face, and when I basically got up. I ripped my shirt, ran at him, and kind of jumped into he jumped into a cab, and the cab driver drove off. Didn't think anything of it, et cetera, because he did boot me in the face at one point. I kind of told the story the next day. I worked at Foot Locker at the time, and I was telling some of my coworkers, and basically what ended up happening was I'm explaining it was hilarious, et cetera. Someone that also worked with me, another coworker, comes in and he goes, "Elias, are you all right?" And I'm like, "Well, how would he know?" "Yeah, but how would he know? He's not He wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it's on this thing called YouTube. And I go, what's
shit.
YouTube?
Is it there now?
I don't know. It's hard. It's now, I think, 7-8 years old. But it was called Boot to Face. It went viral. 1 million people saw it. And it just mortified me. My whole existence as an individual was, I thought, again, this person that didn't pick fights, but I finished him. Mm-hmm. And that kind of shattered my understanding of myself. And in a kind of coming to moment, I spoke to my father. I'm like, what do I do? And he goes, well, you love that UFC stuff so much. Why don't you go to the gym and make sure it never happens again?
What year was this?
That was 2011.
Okay, just so this was really not that long ago.
No, so it was
2011.
2000. I'm trying to think this through. I went pro 2012 or 2011, so it was actually just before that. It'd be a year beforehand. So this is about 2010.
Wow.
So I went to a gym, and at first, my little what's called plan was to, I'm going to learn something, find this guy, and I'll redeem myself, right? I don't know, and there'll be cameras.
Yeah.
But then it allowed me to just find center. I was able to, instead of planning to use martial arts in a way to avenge an old score, I was able to find structure and be able to.
Where was that? Where was that?
My first gym was out in St. Clair, off of where was it? A small gym called Cross Gym, and a friend of mine, my brother's friend, my younger brother, his friend had been doing martial arts, for quite some time. He was like 16, 17 at the time. I was 20, and I showed up at the gym, and he was pantsing me. Like, he was, again, especially on the ground, no comprehensive understanding about what's called jiu-jitsu. And again, he tapped me every single day, multiple times a day, and that ability to not kind of lose that ego that I may have had at one point is kind of where the Spartan name came from. My coach at the time, he's Greek, and he was from Crete, to be specific, or Cyprus. I'm messing those two up. I'm having a brain fart right now. But point being, his whole concept was basically the idea that my ability to never give up, even though, again, tap, that means the guy bested you and you just go back at it. And the fact that I never quit is kind of where the Spartan name came from. In my refusal, even though I was, whether it was undermatched or under, knowledge in any capacity of what I was doing, there was just no quit in me. And that's kind of how I've always kind of pursued martial arts ever since I stepped in the cage, or ever since I stepped into the gym.
Okay, so how long when you started training before you took your first fight?
I think it was about 2 years.
And where was that?
That first fight was for Hard Knocks. I talked to him for a couple of months previously for a potential fight that I was going to take, and it was short notice stuff. It was all short notice because at this point, no professional fights. This was just when Ontario legalized it. But obviously there were people that had skin in the game way before I did and have been traveling, and they were the ones that were getting the first crack at going pro. So I had to go somewhere else to essentially be perceived almost as a stepping stone for another prospect that was there. His name was Tanner Tolman. Great dude. He was, I think, a former student of the guy that was putting together the whole promotion, Ari.
Okay.
He that's how they kind of knew each other. But it was kind of like his, if no pun intended, prospect in the promotion, and I was kind of brought there to lose, yep. And it was just nothing but me and my brother. They only paid for my ticket, so I had to borrow money from my dad's ticket, my dad, to get my brother down there. Yeah. My coach at the time couldn't make it because he had his own job as well, outside of martial arts that he had to go to. So it was me and my brother, who knows even less about martial arts than I do, go there. Learned a couple cool little sequences that kind of played out in the fight in regards to a sweep, and I was able to get the finish in the first round and kind of put a stamp on the next 13 fights of my my MMA career.
And then you went on to the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And how was that?
Well, obviously I won, so it's always
Yeah, but I mean, take us through the experience of what it was like being in the house with all these guys.
Even the experience, right? Some people complained, but
Complained why?
I complained about being trapped in the situation. Obviously, it's reality TV. There's a lot of variables that they kind of control and whatnot.
It was Canada versus Australia.
Yep, that was in 2014.
We killed those guys. Eh?
Yeah, we did.
Our Canadians just like sweat. It was you, Chad LaPrice.
Yep.
What's that guy's name? I think Chad was
Cajun, Ollie, right. Nordine.
That's right.
There was a lot of great fighters from our side. There's a couple of guys that are still in the Australian fighters that are still in the UFC and fighting. Jake Matthews is one of them. He's moved up to 170. He's kind of grown, and he was actually in the house at 19. But that period, I actually went from my first professional fight to the first Canadian Ultimate Fighter winner in 3 years.
Wow.
So it was the 10th professional fight that I ended up winning the Ultimate Fighter in. And kind of going back to the roots, I mentioned it with my coach in regards to my Greek roots. 10 is a powerful number. It's the basis of the decimal system. And to go 10-0 and like kind of that perfect number with us, again, another stamp in mixed martial arts and in my career. And, it's one of those things where you still kind of pinch yourself because it was something you did, and it's really interesting to kind of see that progression from just showing up at the gym and then just never leaving and still haven't left.
Yeah, it goes to show how much if you put in the work,
for sure,
you can get there. And I mean, you remind me of you strike me as the kind of guy that will always, no matter what you touch, will turn to gold. That's how I see it. I mean, you seem to be very hardworking, devoted. And I admire that about you. It's pretty cool.
Really appreciate it.
Now, you had a nice run in the UFC.
Yep,
that was pretty cool. I mean, it was you'd be a fan favorite. Everybody loves you. You're a hometown guy, like Canada. You brought some hemp drinks.
Yes, cheers.
Boom. Yes, please, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm a night shift worker, so the hemp drinks are good. Tell me about these.
Well, I think it's in keeping hemp energy drink. It's kind of in keeping what I've been doing also for the last X amount of years in regards to my own aspect of both patient and athlete. I've been pushing forward to remove the stigma of the cannabis plant, and that includes whether it's hemp on the male side or obviously on the female side in regards to cannabis as a alternative for first line medicines that are currently used in regards to pain management, and that's something I've been very vocal in, especially since Canada legalized cannabis nationwide. There is a big kind of asterisk on that. Access is still very much not allowed for whether it's some certain athletes, certain union workers, construction workers, and other first responders that aren't allowed to medicate because of the stigma that kind of still surrounds it. And obviously, it's a great product in its own right, but I think it's in keeping more in generally of what I'm trying to do is to fight the stigma both inside the cage and out. And, it's a delicious product that I'm really excited to hit the ground running with. We're already we're only a hasty market in regards to Ontario. I believe we're also actually in 7-Eleven as well in Ontario. So it's already branching out. It's already a product that I've been able to help bring to market, and I'm really excited to being a part of. Thank you.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, the really cool, interesting thing is it basically switches what the ginseng that normally is in energy drinks, but beet sugar and hemp. Those are the kind of the trades that they've done in regards to the recipe, and it doesn't allow for that same crash, and also not the same metallic taste that Red Bull has in the aftertaste.
You ever have a Red Bull in Thailand?
Yes, M160 Red Bulls.
Yeah, do you know it's speed, right?
Yeah, well, some of them. Well, they'll have labels at the airport like "Don't do the energy drinks."
I had no idea. So I lived in Thailand. I did 6 months in Thailand. Yeah. And I was getting these little M40s, these little like syrup bottles because I was tired. The time shift, it messed me up. For sure. So I was like, I'll have an energy drink because I didn't have any coffee. And so I buy these little M40s. I'm like, okay, they got a bowl on them, and I'm like, these are energy. They look like an energy. Yeah, same but different. I go back. I start drinking. I'm drinking these things, and then I go train. Well, during training, I'm like, like full tilt the whole time. And then it was an Australian cat. He says to me, he goes, hey, mate, you know what you're drinking there, right? I go, yeah, it's an energy drink. He goes, mate, that's speed. That's like legit speed in there. I was like, no wonder I was getting killer workouts. That's bananas. Anyways, enough about that. I want to go back to this marijuana thing.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get around that with like USADA and all that stuff?
Well, I applied for what's called a therapeutic use exemption. So it's basically cannabis is on the prohibited list under the WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency.
Okay.
It is been around since I think 1999, and it's kind of an infrastructure of how all the safe, all the testing that's been done in the Olympics and more broadly in regards to sport in different directions. So USADA is the United States Anti-Doping Agency, and I applied for a therapeutic use exemption for cannabis. There were victories. Again, the way they kind of do this is they never say no. They say we need more information. Right, so because you essentially building a medical case. Mm-hmm. The underlying issue that the roadblock that I was always hitting was that in Canada, cannabis is considered a medicine. In the U.S., because of its current state as a a Schedule I drug, there is no medical property to it. Mm-hmm. The U.S. government pays USADA part of their funding. So they recognize the guidelines that the U.S. government has, which means it's not medicine. So I'm constantly going against the burn, where again, USADA says, yes, you can use cannabis in regards to this therapeutic exemption, but their underlying issue is the fact that they don't look at it as a medicine. Mm-hmm. So it's like these two weird battles between it. Now no longer confined with a United States anti-doping agency. There's avenues to go through this a very Canadian way, and that's one of the very exciting things that's moving forward.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I always wondered that, because I know a lot of people smoke weed for the therapy side of it. Some smoke recreational. I'm a recreational smoker. I say I have health issues because I just like to smoke weed. So some people may throw that at you. Is that something that you came across where they're like, well, you're just a recreational user. Do you really need it for?
Well, I think it's classifying the two different. I think people self-medicate. I think in regards to what you're describing as medicinal. I think people do different things that help their body. If you look at it, we're nothing more than bags of chemicals, and what helps each individual is very much a case-by-case basis. Why I suggest medical cannabis is because I look at cannabis as a medicine, and so does my doctor, and I actually get prescribed by my doctor. And in doing so, there's more rights that are bestowed in regards to a patient than a recreational patient user. So again, it's very much not only necessarily a plant that I'm talking about, it's also medical equality, and that's what I'm trying to argue. And that's, again, not only for myself but other athletes. A lot of this, and again, and beyond sports as well, as I mentioned. So the cannabis component, it will set precedent not only for myself but all other athletes moving forward. And again, this is not saying that other people can't use other medicine that is prescribed by their doctor, but I'm asking and fighting for my right to do the same as prescribed by my own doctor.
Wow. And where do you think this is going to go?
Well, there's different avenues in the capacity of different regulations that I'm basically applying and kind of pushing through, and it will set it up, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm going to continue knocking down the barriers of cannabis and athletics.
I think a lot of people will be very appreciative of that.
Yeah, and I think there are people that appreciate it in the sense that, again, I've talked to athletes that have retired that, wish cannabis was an option instead of the detrimental of opioids, or again, the whole process that I'm trying to, pardon the pun, but remove the light of this prohibition is the information, just the capacity of what I had to do and the hurdles I had to basically take in regards to first line medicine. So that's opioids, that's painkillers, that's antidepressants. Like, again, one of the processes through this aspect is me exhausting other options, right? Because what's backwards in the way that USADA does it is they basically say, because in medicine, your doctor finds what works for you and then you use it. They want, okay, your doctor says this works for you. You got to exhaust all other options. You basically have to try every other drug under the sun and say, no, those don't work. So again, let's pick one of them, Lyrica. Lyrica made me bloated. So again, it would add like 10, 15 pounds to a person that has to lose about 20, 25 pounds for a fight. So that detriments me not only both as a patient in regards to my quality of life, but also as an athlete. Because now think I'm constipated, I'm bloated, I've gained weight, right? The stressors that happen. Now imagine being bloated in the stomach and getting punched in the stomach for your job.
Yeah.
So again, the detriments that the process has on one's career, and again, and not only career as an athlete, but also quality of the life as a patient as well. And these are the things that I'm trying to highlight in my own story as a patient and an athlete.
So if you didn't have marijuana, how would training camps be for you? Could you even do all this fighting stuff if
it severely detriments my ability to be at a level playing field. Again, being a fighter, I'm obviously tough. Being a fighter, I obviously have to push through because it's my career. But again, it would take away both in regards to my ability to be on the mat the same amount of time as anyone else, not have to resort to other first-line medicines that not only have these side effects that are detrimental, but also long-term effects and the potential of addiction. Again, I've never had an issue of addiction, but if I became dependent on something like that,
people fall into it
fall into it, right?
Super
All it
easy.
takes is a bad injury where you need it. Again, just the simple fact that we have cannabinoid receptors in our body, over 150 that they know, that it essentially, in order to quote unquote overdose with cannabis, you have to do 2.5 times your body weight in one sitting.
Yes, which is
you get
impossible.
a handful alternative. It's impossible. The alternative is a handful of pills you take with the wrong drink.
Yeah.
Like, again, the big lie that's that needs to be exposed is that cannabis is dangerous. Cannabis is not for everyone, but as prescribed by my doctor, it's for me.
Right on, man. I hope this. I hope it works, man. I hope you really shed a lot of light on it. I really do.
Again, one of the interesting things, and thank you. One of the interesting things is doing this through a very regulatory a very, very regulatory route. It will set precedent not only for myself. So again, all the hard work that I'm putting together will pay dividends for the athletes that are coming up. And again, if that saves one athlete from becoming addicted to painkillers or ending their career because of the fact that they just can't take the side effects and what it does to their body, it's all for the right cause.
No, absolutely. What's next for you, bro?
Well, I'm excited that we're here, and obviously this is kind of part of our way to kick off the fact that I'm going to be jumping back into the cage for December 6th at Prospect Fighting Championship in Windsor, Ontario.
I love it. That's amazing. I'm so when I got the news, it was Alex had mentioned. He goes, "Hey, man, Elias wants to fight." And I was, my head went like this. I was like, really? Like, really? And he's like, yeah. And then he explained a few things for me. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I'm not going to jump into it too much because this is something that we can talk about on a podcast after.
Yep.
But let's get through everything first. But like I'm saying, we still got to find you an opponent.
Yep.
Which
Alex is working on.
He's working. He's the best in the business.
Yes, he is. I've known him for quite some time.
You're a top ranked fighter.
Yeah, and obviously,
it's not easy to match a
find
guy
exactly.
like that. You know what I'm saying?
Say.
So it's like the journey for that is like, holy shit, how do you match a guy like this caliber? And it's I'm honored, to even just to have you even just grace the cage with me.
Well, the feeling's mutual.
On
honored
turf,
to be exactly. I'm honored to be a part of the PFC family, and I'm excited to again get back to my roots and smash come fight night. And I'm excited for all the other stuff that will eventually be rolling out. Rolling out as this all goes in the right direction. So really excited, and I truly appreciate the opening to again showcase my skills as an athlete at home, and I'm looking to do so in dominant form. I've really taken this time to basically get back to my roots in regards to what got me on the scene in the first place, and I'm really excited to make that all share with everyone.
Because like when I first got
December
into
6th.
when I got into the first got into the fight game, I wanted to have you. I remember we had talked about it because I had hired Alex right from the beginning. There was you and Chad Laprise.
Yep.
Actually, so I actually have a poster with Chad Laprise on it.
Amazing.
Like and then the Ultimate Fighter came in, and then I was like, oh, and then I think the whole community knew that we were gonna lose you and Chad. I think it was just like it was a no-brainer. Like we all knew it, but we couldn't talk about it because there were so many like you couldn't. It was like what's the word I'm thinking of? Tight-lipped. It was. We just couldn't say shit about it. And I remember texting Chad and I said, hey, because we didn't know who got selected yet. We kind of knew, but because through the word on the street, but we couldn't talk about it. And I said, hey, should I be booking a flight for your opponent? And then he said, no. Right? He goes, I don't think you should be booking it. So he gave me the hint without saying anything. And it was like a shoe-in. We knew who was going to. Didn't think you guys were going to win it. Not that we didn't think we were going to win it, but we're like, holy shit, these guys went. Because getting selected was hard.
Yep. There were a lot of great fighters that
it wasn't. Yeah, there's like the whole freaking country went up for that.
Yeah, pretty much.
It wasn't like, when I say not anticipating you to win it, it was surprising enough that you guys got on the show. Yeah, because we're like, holy, that's a huge step alone. You would have made it to UFC regardless of winning the show.
Well, thank you.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just a quick fast track for you, which was perfect. And you had a good run with the UFC, man. Like I couldn't imagine like
8-3. What's it called? And again, getting there in such a quick, dominating fashion and making a statement right off the gate. And I'm looking to do that again. I very much and going back to the aspect with Chad and not talking about it, it's because they have very good lawyers, and it's a $5 million NDA essentially that you sign.
Non-disclosure.
So about the whole process. So that'll get you tight-lipped. Some of my friends were concerned because I disappeared because it's like 7 weeks. Yeah. So my friends were basically like texting my parents like, where's Elias? I haven't seen him or whatever. Like, he's good. Yeah. Not really kind of approaching the subject.
You sort of talk about it, but not talk about it. It was kind of like...
just don't let it get on the internet. That's basically the issue.
Yeah, that was cool. So now you say you train, switching things up for training. You go back to your roots. Now you were training out at TriStar when you were in the UFC. Why the change now? Why there? I mean, for us is that camp up there. Like you got great training partners. What's different about coming back home?
Well, again, still have a great relationship with everyone down there. I just think in general, bringing it back home to what got me on the scene in the first place. Working with RG more, working with Chad Pearson. Also, not even necessarily one gym specifically. What I fell in love with martial arts was the concept of the fighter's journey and being able to travel and train beyond as well. So I've actually gone to I just actually came from Florida, Tampa. That was one of the reasons why we had to get the third time. Yes, exactly. Got to train at different gyms. I've been training at what's it called? Gracie Tampa South with a bunch of great guys down there at Matarero. And also I got to train at with more recently even Zachary, Phil Rowe, who just made it to the UFC. I know who also Mike Perry. I'm going to reach out to him, get some training in with him, and there's also a couple other great guys on the mats at Gracie Tampa South as mentioned. So again, it's not even necessarily closing the door on one way, it's just going in another as well. That's kind of what I fell in love with martial arts, and kind of, I've been to Thailand as well too. I've been to Brazil, I've been to Japan, and everywhere in between, and kind of gathering that is what got me excited into mixed martial arts. And it's helping me build that excitement to jump right back in there in dominating fashion.
Jump back in and no quit. Most people, after a UFC run, they want to get right back in there. You're a fighter to the bone. That's it is what it is. It doesn't matter where you're fighting. You just need to be fighting.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that in you. The need to perform, the need to unleash. And put on a show. Do what you do best.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And again, I'm excited to do it in front of a home crowd. I'm excited to do it in a way that brings it, like I said, bring it all back to my roots and smash.
Yeah. Well, it's good to reset too, right?
Yep.
I mean, like I said, the UFC was a good tear, and big show. It's the big show, and I mean, it's in you to fight. So, I'll set the stage for you the best that I can, and go from there.
Really excited.
That's amazing. How are we doing for time right now, guys? We're good? Okay, well, we got another half. You got more time to sit with me?
Yep.
Okay. What else are you doing? What other projects are you working on?
I've been working.
Sorry, on Dragon's Den.
Yeah, that's quite some time ago.
What was that all about?
I basically helped revamp a woman's basically small business that she had. It was called Martinis on Wheels. So it was basically a drink catering service. I don't know if it's still around anymore, but I basically add the whole concept of men, because like people that drink martinis are majority majority women drink martinis as well.
Or James Bond.
Yeah. Well, exception to the rule, right?
Yeah.
He's the one exception.
CIA operatives.
But in doing some research, basically the biggest drinkers of martinis are, it was like 6 to 4 female. So adding the whole concept of almost like not necessarily the Chippendales look, but what's it called? Having
bow ties
and cuffs and whatever like that, and just basically doing different parties. And it was actually my first.
We should look into that and see if it actually blew up. Like, how did they do? How did they do on the show? I can't remember.
Well, I helped her with the business plan, and that was actually my first introduction to reality TV, and it's very much scripted, right? Like that one I didn't really.
So Dragon's Den is scripted
in some capacity, right? Like a producer in many ways is a crappy writer, and basically just feeding. In some concept that they want to help and kind of move in that direction. So we had this whole game plan to do, a presentation a certain way. The woman that owns the company basically, the producer got in her ear, and the night before, so she wanted to change everything drastically, and basically to the point where she was a great orator, she was a great speaker, but if you put paper in front of her, she kind of fell apart on it. So these new ideas aren't her own ideas, so she can't convey them, so she wrote them down. So she then couldn't convey them when it was time to come in front of the dragons. Everyone. So she kind of buckled, and they kind of not made fun of her, but they kind of picked on her in the capacity of, you don't know what you're doing.
But really,
no, we're doing what you're doing.
Wow.
So she fell apart there. There was a moment where they basically, because our ask was 100,000, they basically offered me 50,000. They're like, because I actually knew what I was talking about, because I was the one that was doing. I basically built the whole concept on the different direction that we're going, but I knew that they weren't really at this point. They weren't really offering anything. I think they just threw it out there for TV, for TV to have a split between us.
Yeah.
And I went on my sword honorably, and I said, "Hey, we came together. We'll leave together in regards to our business partners." But there was nothing that kind of came after it.
Wow. So I love that show because it was, you see.
Again, that's only my own experience, right? So again, other people could have totally different.
It's probably all that way. I mean, it kind of, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it probably makes sense for somebody to puppeteer the whole thing.
Yeah, well, a producer, right? They're producing the show, and it's not like it was just a kind of getting in her ear in the capacity of, you could go this way too. So it kind of changed everything day before.
Yeah,
but it was a great experience either way.
It was cool because I saw a clip. It was a long time ago. and it was you with your shirt off, with a bow tie, holding a tray, I think, of drinks.
Yep.
And then it was you. He was on Dragon's Den.
Yeah. So another thing you mentioned, the drinks. So because there's certain regulations and rules you can do with like alcohol and this and that, so they had to have it sit there. Like I made a drink, a great martini drink, and I was so pissed because of the way the thing's all structured. I couldn't. I made a drink and it had to sit there for like 2.5 hours. So by the time the Dragons got it, they drink it like, oh, this is crap. And I'm just like, well, of course, it's been sitting there for 2.5 hours.
It's too bad you couldn't have said that.
I know, and like I can't put ice in it. I can't reshake it for you. Like it's just like, oh, this syrup tastes horrible. Like, well, yeah.
Did you get to talk to any of the Dragons?
Yeah, I talked to them when I was on the show.
But like outside of being on the show, like
a little bit.
Like,
but it's more the lead up to. Oh, I've met Kevin O'Leary after the fact.
What is he like?
Decent enough guy. Yeah. Decent enough guy. Again, I guarantee you, if you have him in different situations, you can see a different Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, for sure. I had a big. It's funny. People make fun of me. I had a crush on the redhead. What's her name? Irene.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about her, man. I love her. I think she's beautiful.
She is beautiful.
Yeah. Like I look at her, I'm like, holy. Like it's like one of those like TV crushes.
Yep.
And you're like, I don't know what it is about her, but there's something about her that's attractive. That's hilarious. So what else is on the plate for you, bro?
Working also in regards to acting. I'm actually going to be filming a couple of different projects in the next little bit. So next year, in the summer, I'm going to Crete. And I'll be filming a movie. It's filmed in Greece. I can't say too much about my part, but I basically play King Minos, who is the gatekeeper of the underworld.
Yeah.
And,
no shit, eh?
Yeah, it's a really cool script. I'm really excited to be a part of the project. It's going to be in the beautiful island of Crete. And they've shown me the location pictures and stuff like that. Beautiful caves, and a lot of really cool stuff on that aspect. Also working on a film as well. It's called The Last Hit. It's basically Southpaw meets The Game. The Wizard. If you guys remember The Wizard
with Fred Savage.
Yeah,
that was like one of my favorite movies as a kid. I probably watched that movie like 10 times.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah.
So basically, I play an MMA fighter, huge stretch, who gets injured, and I revamp myself as a competitive video gamer.
No shit.
Yeah.
When's that release?
We're going to film it next year is the game plan. We're just doing the last little components of funding and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So it's really exciting to be a part of that project. And it'll be a fighting game as well. We can't release it just yet because we're dealing with the licensing. So sorry. Basically the what is it? The fight game that it's a game that we all know. One might say it involves fighting on the streets, and
that doesn't narrow it down. Come on, man, give us a little bit more than that.
Or you can rearrange those words, but it just depends.
Okay,
it just depends. Yeah. It just depends when we get the licensing component. But it's a comedy, and it kind of like talks about not necessarily parallels in the same aspect of no longer being with the UFC, but what happens when you have to make changes really quickly, and that's what my character deals with throughout. Obviously, in a much more extreme case that will be revealed in the film, and it's funny as hell. We already have a great director attached to it, Gary Hawes, who's been attached to many great films, whether it's all the new Planet of the Apes movies, all the he was a part of the second director of Juno, Interstellar, X-Men, and everything in between.
Okay.
He's basically been attached to about like $5 billion worth of films.
That's amazing.
This is his fourth feature film. All the other ones I mentioned, he was like the second director, which is basically toe and toe with it. But he has a great eye himself. Great writer. A writer that who originally he actually has gone into developing a whole bunch of great video games, but my favorite one is he was responsible for the Kim Kardashian apps. He created all the wordplay for that, or the dialogue for that.
Yeah,
that app is like one of the highest grossing apps ever. Like they were making crazy. They made her $80 million a year off of an app.
Off an app.
Yeah.
And what's involved in the app?
Oh, well, it's basically like you work as her understudy, and then you build your way up to being famous yourself. So it's like you rise in the ranks.
Really?
With
Through an app.
Yeah, through an app.
Wow.
It's a video game. Yeah. But he's gone on. He's gone on to a whole bunch of other different great films. Games that he's produced as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of that and working with another project. I do stunt work as well in between fighting. Obviously, fighting is my focus, and it is my focus with my training camp right now. This is something that I'll be picking up in the new year. After I get my hand raised and get the finish.
Yeah. Is it one of those for you want to fight home, like back on home soil?
Yeah, it's always great. Obviously, the friends and family that I have planned out. It's not necessary. Leading up to it wasn't official, but I was letting everyone know. Hey, Windsor, December 6th, keep it open. So they're all excited to be there, and I'm excited to have them all there. It's home, and that's plain and simple. It's always greater to be at home.
I mean, because you had such a great career. To me, in my head, I'm blessed that I'm even gonna have you. But in my head, I'm like, you ask yourself, why would a guy, come from the UFC and then want to take a fight at home?
Well, again, a lot of the openness that we're going to be doing in regards to what we're going to be unveiling moving forward. It makes it much easier to decide where to go when you have open arms in that direction. So excited for everything in regards to the projects that other projects that we got going on the go that will be all present on fight night.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I wish we can kind of talk more about it, but we can't. So I mean, it's one of those like we're leaving everybody in suspense, and that's the best way to do it. I don't know, man. We probably should wrap it up because you got to head back.
For lack of a better word, end it on a high note.
But absolutely. Any shout outs to sponsors or anything like that? Tell everybody where they can find you if they're not already following you.
Yeah, well, you can find me on at Elias Theodorou, both on Instagram and Twitter. Shout outs to Hemp Energy Drink. They're getting me through the day each and every training session.
And thank you for them. They're actually really, really
I'm
delicious.
I'm gonna get you the other flavors. We'll get you a little to go back.
Because I love this stuff, man.
Yeah. So again, there are a lot of other sponsors that we're going to be unveiled moving forward. And then again, it all ties into what we got going on.
Beautiful. Okay. You can catch Elias Theodorou December 6th at the St. Denis Centre in Windsor. Prospect Fighting Championships 12. Beautiful, brother.
Boom.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And have a safe drive home.
Man.
See you soon.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Cool. Awesome.
This podcast is brought to you by Sun Tanning Salon. Do you suffer from eczema or psoriasis? You have acne or sore muscles? Head on in today and visit the tanning beds. They got regular and mega stand-up beds. Get that beautifully tan look that you're looking for. They also offer natural mystic spray tan. You can also purchase premium products such as Australian Gold, California Tan, Designer Skin, and Swedish Beauty. There's many different packages to choose from, 6-session package or a 30-day pass, even single sessions. Sign up today in your membership and get $70 worth of product. They're located across from Masonville Mall in the Wendy's Plaza at 60 North Centre Road, London, Ontario. Visit Sun Tanning today.